What's going on? Boys, we're going to start adding thanks in the introduction. Thanks to our patrons, our Fiverr customers, and our book buyers. Arm yourselves, life stuff. Today we're going to talk not only about some topics, but also about the emotional transitions between those topics. As you know, for our health, we are trying to be more positive. Or if not positive, then at least not death drum tearing yourself apart. And it is difficult. Because even if you don't grab the map and run headfirst into the horrible forest, that temptation and sometimes that necessity is forced on you. For example, I was watching yet another fucking military millennial giving his thoughts on things. In this instance, about the obvious e-girl psyop thing. And I found it odd that he claimed it was not a psyop, just marketing. That is a rhetorical method of saying the same thing with the prettier word, the one with fewer negative associations. But that got me thinking about wider psyops, or whatever word you want to use. This societal obsession with violence, but not just violence, particularly organized state type violence. Everyone wants to be an operator. Everyone wants to play soldier. And this obsession creates almost unspoken social classes. People who haven't been in the military but admire their idea of what they do, and people who are or have been in the military regardless of what they did in it. These positions or these ideas of sets of skills are the desired things, or the desired statuses. Even if you are opposed to the military, you are still conditioned to have this craving for that status. And you act it out not by playing, quotes, soldier, but by fantasizing about PMCs or partisan forces, and you play video games or take classes because you still crave that status you don't have or think you don't want, but obviously still do according to your actions. And worth noting, let's say you are a civilian who becomes super operator tactical. Actually, you still haven't attained that status because you haven't served. I find it interesting that recruitment is down, and legions of young men, high percentages of young men, are stating openly that they would avoid a draft if one happened. And they have every reason to. Yet, all our media worships men in uniforms with guns killing people. Not just soldiers, but cops too. I avoid most crime media for obvious reasons, but I didn't realize how popular that shit was. And this is the tricky part. It's not like humans socialized differently would be less violent. Or rather, those violent urges wouldn't go away. We're an evil species, and I think McCarthy got it right. Even though popular discourse around Blood Meridian, which is like the equivalent of pop science, citizen science, really annoying. It's like we are a spiritually demonic species that worships killing people. Humans are programmed to like sugar. That's just a fact of what we are. But Big Sugar has an interest in conditioning you not to want to get your sugar from fruits. Big Sugar wants you to act out your sugar cravings in a way that's going to benefit them. So instead of eating a nice banana, you buy a gas station bucket with $1.50 refills and drink soda until you are pissing paint thinner. I think that is what media has done with humans' violent urges. It's a good thing you fantasize about killing people you don't like, and you can do it with us. We'll pay you, and society will suck your dick until the end of time. But then, Miltuber in another video said something that got the hatred flowing and quickly. The United States military is apolitical, and they don't follow orders that are unethical, immoral, illegal. That was the fastest I've gotten angry in a few weeks. We're trying to be positive for our health, but in that moment, I was so angry, I didn't care about my health. Because how can you say something that blatantly untrue? I didn't realize separating a minor from his parents and torturing him and sodomizing him and making him suck the dicks of other minors was legal and moral. You stupid, evil motherfucker. Would you want someone to do that to your child? I pray to God there is a hell for you. And what if there isn't a hell? Are you comfortable letting people who perpetrate these sorts of things die without punishment? I was designing a dildo, a real force multiplier, something that doesn't just do its job, something that by sight alone you know exactly what it is, what it's capable of, and where it's going. This is not for innocent, kindly asses. And sure, that dude probably had nothing to do with all of the ultimate evil our state perpetrates. But you are lying blatantly. Do you know why I pretty consistently get along with drafted boomers, including recently a Marxist drafted boomer who is a lifer? They don't pretend what the state does is righteous. But these thank you for your service flunkies have a vested interest in playing nice, lying. These institutions put them where they are in life, and probably keep them where they are. That's why they don't shut up about it. That's why they lie. Sucking the evil dick is financially and socially advantageous. Fuck the truth. Fuck what happens to anybody else. Fuck your crimes. Who's going to prosecute you? Your state won't. God might not. Who's it up to? Then you go back to these human violence cravings. Oh, I'd be a gorilla fighting those awful people. Fighting them either by trying to do what they do, but infinitely worse, or by trying to do what gorillas in the past have done that they already know how to deal with, or you try to get future asymmetrical warfare and think ahead and do all these things that, again, they're already doing. And this isn't to say a partisan force can't do anything or shouldn't do anything, but rather that, because of your conditioning, you are primed to take offensive action in an expected way. But what about serial killers? Or apparently random acts of violence? Why don't we deify them? Why don't we train to do what they do? Not to fight an oppressive and evil force, but to really ruin individuals. And communicate through actions, through unexpected actions, what happened to this person could happen to you. It probably won't, but it could, and wouldn't that stink? And of course, in reality, none of that's going to happen. But I'm in this mental state in which all I can think about is how to do evil unto evil people. You probably wouldn't manage anything, and you certainly wouldn't change anything, but what if you managed just one thing? Just one instance of reminding someone anally everything awful they have done to other people. Like that cunt in the Abu Ghraib photos. Could you imagine, was what she did moral, ethical, legal? Any of them. All of them. And in these instances, nothing is going to be done. Nobody is going to be punished. They're going to sleep like babies. The younger generation is going to jerk off the military, manipulate media, and condition the next generation of subhumans, non-humans, who are going to do the exact same things. And maybe you have had first-hand experiences with these sorts of people, and Christ on a cross, wouldn't it be divine to just one, and for the love of God, give them a taste of what they've done? Doing your part not to let someone get away with it. And we're continentalists now, so it's not just doing evil things. It is disrespecting the spirit of what your nation represents. I don't want to feel this way. Can you please either be humans worth supporting, or can you be honest about what you do? You can't be absolved of your sins without confession. I appreciate the value of doing unjustifiable things. And maybe you do lie about it. Maybe you need to lie about it. But knowing that you do these things to your own people, and that you lie about it to your own people, it's sickening, and it deserves an anal atrocity. Or it deserves being cannibalized in a cave while you were trying to be healthy and hike. And all this is the setup to the emotional state. It is a distressing place to be. Because once you're in here, your happy bunker is gone. Your delusions are gone. All that's left, what reality comes down to, through so many avenues, is confusion, deception, powerlessness, and death. And as with much stuff, you can say that, but the more you learn it, the more you understand it, and the more you feel it. And when you're back in this place, when you're back in ultimate reality, what are your options? Well, your options get boiled down to, essentially they are, be inflicted upon, or inflict upon another, and then be inflicted upon. You could be that boy being sodomized, and you will, but before that happens, or before you die, you might be able to fractionalize somebody. And the point about this entire state ending up back here is none of these options are good. That's reality. In reality, nothing is good. There is no good outcome. But if you stay in this zone with a robust understanding and no shielding, you are going to die quickly. And dying is really, 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 really scary. You enter this space because you are confronted with something horrifying, or people who are horrifying. And you'll never make those things or those people stop being horrifying. Horrifying is what they are. That's reality. And you feel like your only real option outside dying which is going to happen, is inflicting as close to that level of horror upon them as possible. I'm having trouble finding the words, but I think a way to visualize it would be like a catapult getting pulled back, put under tension. Reality, especially when set off by horror and evil, is not a level of achievement. It's not a place you go. It's a launch pad. And once you're really locked in, you are so fucked now. Because you either launch or you implode. And in this particular example, I hate them so much because they rape children or suck the dicks of people who do. And they would do it to you or your children in a heartbeat. But if you stare at this, if you stare at what this is, what these fucking people are long enough, no matter what happens, your life is over. You're dead. Because you got locked into that launch pad. If you want to avoid scary death as long as you can, you need to stay nice and firmly in your happy bunker. And I think reality is like one of those reverse tolerance substances. The more you've been exposed to it, you don't develop a resistance to it, the faster it comes on and the harder it hits you. So like this YouTuber dude gives a suspiciously bad take about the e-girl psyop thing, and that's whatever, it's still an entertaining video and this and that. But then, with that one sentence in the other video, you cease to be a human being, and all I can think about is every awful person who, in my opinion, has done worse than killing. That is destroying a person's ability ever to feel okay in life and not be dead. And this to innocent people. And once that fuse is lit, it's not even just military people doing shitty things and lying about it. It is every human doing everything awful to every other human. Stealing someone's ability even to try to live a positive or structured life. That deserves torture. And this is all reality, but you cannot think like that, because the longer you stay in that state, the more likely you are to die in some fashion. And it builds up so fast. This all is the saddest state of affairs. As a species, we're supposed to be better than this. Staying in this state will kill you. But the happy bunker is coming along okay. I keep having these flashes of, right now, you're going to vomit blood unless you drink until you die. And the low nausea is starting to come back, but it isn't total. And I am finding other interesting happy bunker things. Television, for one. Not even anime. Just straight up 3D English television. I caught myself using it like a drug the other day. I was thinking about things and starting to get nauseous, and I realized I was jonesing for television. Just give me stimulation that will occupy my senses and, to a point, my mind, so I don't have to think about anything. And it's the weirdest thing, because I don't care about the television, I don't care about the show. All I care about is the vacuous emotional state the television gives me, which is distinct from watching videos on my phone because although I almost always have something going in my ear, watching videos on my phone or just listening to videos on my phone for some reason makes me sick, stresses me out. But I turn on the television and for however long the episode is, I use YouTube TV, can't get away from YouTube. I feel this brilliant emptiness. No child molesters, no child molesters child molesting defenders, no guns, no death, no politics, no fear, just nothing. Noise, colors, and just the smallest amount of concept to keep my brain full and totally empty. And then another thing. Recently, a rooster showed up. He's been hanging around the two elderly hens. And I can tell this rooster is not a juvenile, but not fully grown. And certainly not filled out. And I didn't chase him off because I love roosters, and I haven't seen one up close in quite some time. But I didn't let him in with the hens either, because there is nothing worse than an ill-tempered rooster in a confined space with hens, especially older hens. But I fed him over a couple days and he didn't go anywhere, and he ended up being pretty personable. So that's my rooster now. And of course that means he's going to end up killed like my last rooster, but in the meantime, I have gained custody of my preferred form of lil bro. Chickens are some of the best animals on the planet. Roosters are probably my favorite. In essence, I have something to dote on that is everything I like. I don't think people can appreciate how nice a well-mannered rooster is. Normally, if you're working with smaller spaces, if you let your hens, quotes, free range, you need to keep an eye on them. But if you have a socialized rooster, you'll still need to be present, but where you go, the rooster will stay nearby. And where the rooster goes, the hens will stay nearby. It's like avian shepherding. And one of the shows I've been watching, Twin Peaks, I get why people like it. I'm okay with it. But in terms of happy bunker advice, Special Agent Cooper, one of the best lines I've heard for deluding yourself into joy. Once a day, don't think about it, don't plan it, give yourself a present. And that's brilliant because what it does is it gives you an apparently logical, reasonable excuse to do whatever you want to do. It is indulgence that feels like responsibility because it looks like responsibility, because it's organized. It's so good for happiness because you feel like you are following good instructions when really you're just doing things that make you happy. And that hollow feeling has become almost a rallying point in my life. Whenever I start to feel that drum beating, I'm getting better at consciously, deliberately, and effectively disabling my brain. You can't think about horror and evil and death if you can't think. And you can teach yourself not to think without needing to drink. As an example, right now, for the last few days I have been fussing about whether or not I should order a sweater like the one Vlad wears in Vladic Brutal. Just a nice, big, comfy-ass knit wool sweater. And this one particular sweater I'm looking at It's kind of a lot of money, but our winters are cold enough to justify investing in clothes that are comfortable and warm. The warmest piece of clothing I own is a Carhartt jacket, which for some reason, if you're going for status, that Carhartt jackets win you a lot of allies for no reason. But I like the jacket, but it's not very breathable, and it's not that soft. It's not supposed to be, but the jacket is okay, but I don't really have any other comparable cold ass jackets. So investing a little bit extra money in a jacket that will keep me or protect me from the cold and be soft and comfortable and kind of aesthetic, and I get to feel like Russian Violence Man programming. And in the midst of making this section of the video, I stopped everything and I went and bought it. I have the money to do it. I feel good for making the purchase, but more importantly, this entire last however many days has been an excellent distraction. I'm just reading about the latest goods and services, fussing about buying a nice, sweet, hot chocolate feeling jacket instead of the evil people who rape kids and the dildo I want to design and build and use on them. The people doing the raping, not the victims. I want to turn the perpetrators into victims. Except I don't, because that's death. I would really prefer just to watch my television and fuss about being a good consumer and wearing comfy clothes and feeling brilliantly hollow. I don't want to feel these bad things. I don't want to think about justice or the lack of it. I don't want to think about things that have happened to me. I don't want to think about things that will happen to me. I don't even want to think about things that are going on right now. I want to be in the happiest little days far away, at least mentally, from reality. But at the same time, that horror vision doesn't go away. And I would be lying if I said one of the products I was looking at and considering spending my money on instead of this nice cozy sweater was lots of ammunition or a shotgun that can shoot down drones, but really it's shooting down birds and all this shit. I don't know what to do. You feel guilty for not being in the horror state, for not having your eyes open, but if you go in that state, you are so doomed. Because the longer you stay in and the more you come to understand, the more effective you become, yes, but the more obligated you are to die, the more effective you become. I want to wear a comfy sweater and not feel obligated to be in the hurt cycle. Why can't things be good? That's the other thing, maybe. Recently, I haven't been interacting with people. I haven't been putting myself out there. The illusion of happiness is so much easier when you are not opening yourself up to people showing you why you can't or shouldn't be happy. It reminds me of that dumb shit video. If you want to maximize misery, isolate yourself. No, if you want a chance at happiness, isolate yourself. If you want to maximize misery, which maybe you do want to because that'll make you a lot nastier, go out and meet as many people as you can. We're rambling, but this is all so odd. Because I will say one of the things about reality and when you are in that hurt cycle, or you're fixated on it, is you sure as shit have direction. Your direction is being made miserable and making people as miserable as effectively as you can until you're dead. But if you're trying to be happy, it's aimless. It's aimlessness. Because it doesn't exist. It's not real. But if you're good enough at fooling yourself, you can recognize that it isn't real and still feel like it is. Or if not that it is, then at least you aren't dragged down. You can take solace in your not feeling, your sedation. But we'll cut it here because we are going in circles trying to make sense of this and feeling sad. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.